Hello and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to my home. Today I'm going to be doing something that I have never done before, which is to review and react and watch another YouTube royal reviewer, if you like. I'm going to be reacting to Lady Colin Campbell. So what do I know about Lady Colin Campbell? Well, I used to follow her career from when she was in the jungle, but I've never actually sat down and watched one of her royal videos, mainly because I do my own and I've already discussed or spoken about the subject, so I've never really wanted to kind of revisit that subject. But today, I am intrigued. I have no idea what I'm going to find within the content and style of her video. I know that she is a very formidable lady, which I actually quite like in her personality. And I do know that she has an anti-Harry and Meghan slant. So it will be good to be able to put my own opinions and thoughts and knowledge, accumulated knowledge from all the years that I've been a royal watcher and a royal reviewer on YouTube since 2015. Let me remind you, I was the first person to put themselves in front of the camera talking about the British royal family on YouTube, literally, since 2015. So it's going to be very interesting to see what Lady Colin Campbell has to say. So without further ado, let's get stuck into it. Now, the video I'm going to watch, it's on the laptop in front of me, is called William and Kate's Mistake. Meghan condemned somewhere in Germany. Meghan condemned in Germany. False media reports, symbiosis and disquiet. And the video at this point has got 135,000 views and it was posted yesterday. So let's get stuck into it. Okay, so I should say as well that I'm going to be watching chunks of it and then stopping the video and then commenting. So I've literally just started and a few seconds in, there's some music playing. My Boy Lollipop. Does she always have a song at the beginning? Does the My Boy Lollipop have any kind of reference to what's going to be in the content of the video? I don't know. Let's find out. Okay, so for the first section, I'm going to comment on what she spoke about. Apparently a cat called Treasure. I think she's had the cat for 18 years. I've never seen the cat, but I think she's suffered a recent bereavement of Treasure. So it's never nice when you lose an animal, a pet, a family member. I mean, of course, I've got a cat right beneath me here, Rory. And when anything ever happens to them when they're sick, when it really gets to you. So I could see the raw emotion. I think she was on the brink of tears and then kind of pulled it back. With regards to her setting and appearance, well, I do know about Castle Goring because I watched a documentary that she made on it years ago when she just bought it. I think it was just after the jungle and she was trying to raise money. In fact, she did the jungle to raise money to try and fix it up. So looks like she's still got Castle Goring and it looks like she's done a good job with the renovations from the backdrop. I can see lots of kind of antique furniture. I can see an orchid. There's some nice paintings and pictures on the wall. She's sat on a rather nice sofa. So I think she's done all right for herself. With regards to appearance, I mean, pearl overlay. We've got that pearl black and white headband. We've got the big chunky pearl necklaces, pearl earrings, and a gorgeous brooch. Okay, so far, not terribly too much to comment on. So the first point that Lady Colin Campbell touches on, or subject, is William and Catherine's decision to hire a CEO. Now, I made a video about this last week, and I did say that I thought there was going to be a level of competitiveness. Lady Colin Campbell said exactly the same thing. But I also said that I think things do need to move with the times while still respecting the traditions of the monarchy. So a private secretary, a CEO, how are William and Catherine going to make it work? I do have reservations very similar to Lady Colin Campbell. She said, let's revisit this in 3 years. It's going to be a disaster. It depends how they make it work. It depends how they make the hierarchy work. It depends upon what the CEO is actually in reality going to be over. Because remember, we have only seen a job advert, so we don't actually know all of the job specifications and details at length and in depth. So will the CEO almost be presiding maybe over the charitable branches of William and Catherine's royal operations? And then will the private secretary be more sort of royal household, looking after William and Catherine's kind of personal needs? Lady Colin Campbell made a really good point about loyalty, that the private secretary or master of the household has a loyalty to the crown, to the monarchy, whereas the CEO is more about the business in terms of not necessarily looking after putting William and Catherine first. I do think there are going to be some sticking issues when it comes to it. It depends completely upon the delivery, how it is going to be rolled out. The main point is that there is definitely going to be some level of competitiveness between the two roles. I agree, they are essentially the same thing. So you can imagine, I think the difference is about being a career royal in terms of working for the firm, working for the royal family. A lot of the royal family staff have worked their way up from the bottom all the way up to the top. A lot of staff have been there for decades and decades and decades. There is some new staff coming in every now and again. Sometimes they do hire from outside of the royal family, from outside of military backgrounds, from outside of political backgrounds. But essentially, royal staff tend traditionally to stay in post for a very long time. So you've got that element of loyalty. CEOs, corporate people, they jump ship. They move on very quickly. They see their current role as a stepping stone to move on. They try and make their mark and then they leave. And then the next person comes in and then tries to make their mark. It's constant change. And of course, the monarchy is about stability. It's about continuity. And my worry is very much about the stability and the continuity. It is about losing a little bit of the heart, again, a little bit of the human element involved. And I agree with Lady C. Let's revisit this in 3 years. But my overwhelming sort of thoughts on this are, it depends exactly what is in the role. What will the new CEO actually be over in reality and in practice? Let's wait and see. Lady C then reads out a comment about Meghan and her father, and she gives a detailed answer. I think that Meghan doing what she has done to her father in terms of cutting him off in life is a big mistake, purely because just on a human level, we don't get a chance to rectify our mistakes or rectify those relationships when people have finally gone. Her father is not in the best of health and hasn't been for a number of years. Regardless of what she may perceive him to have done to or against her, you only get one father, and when they're gone, it's too late. You can't make amends with someone who has passed away. And I think that is also going to be an issue for Harry. Of course, his grandfather, the Duke of Edinburgh, his grandmother, the late Queen, have passed away at a time when he was trying to tear down everything that they had built up and everything that they represented in life, the institution of monarchy. He did the Oprah interview at the time when Prince Philip was in hospital effectively dying. He planned to release Spare, harpooning the royal family. And we all know what was in the contents of Spare. He intended that, let's not forget, he intended that to go out whilst Queen Elizabeth was alive. He then pulled the book and waited a few months to update it with regards to her passing. Again, trying to capitalise and make money off the backs of his royal titles and connections and the monarchy. I think both of them, Harry and Meghan, are going to have deep regret I think Harry, if he's not feeling any type of deep regret now, I think he will in a few years' time when he looks back. All the refusals to, attend Balmoral, all those summers that he's missed holidays with his grandmother and the rest of his family, he's never going to get that time back. Let's cast our mind back to, before they left the royal family, they were invited to Balmoral for the summer by the Queen, by her late Majesty. I think at the time they said that Archie was too young to travel. Off they went on a private jet to Elton John. I think it was Ibiza or Portugal or somewhere similar. So they shunned their family in life. They are shunning them in death. And I do think it will come to, it's their biggest downfall, and it's a thing that people don't forget. Even if Harry and Meghan moved on, made amends, people are not going to forget that period in time when they did wicked, wicked things to people that are no longer here. I know Thomas Markle is still alive, but one day he won't be. The Queen and Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, they are gone, and Harry is never going to get that time back. When that will hit, and he will recognise this, is anyone's guess. Okay, so I've just watched a kind of big, long section about Harry and Meghan at the Invictus Games. Now, we've just seen kind of the closing ceremony. I'm not quite sure if Harry and Meghan are already flying back to the USA right away, or whether they're spending a few days elsewhere. But the Invictus Games has now closed. Now, the first part of the Invictus Games that Harry attended before Meghan got there was a lot more. There was definitely, the newspapers and the press were picking up on Harry, but there was a lot more focus on the Invictus Games competitors, as it should be. Then when Meghan came, it did become this kind of Harry and Meghan / Meghan show, what she was wearing, what she was doing, everything was about Harry and Meghan at that point. And I do feel that the press kind of sidelined the Invictus Games warriors and competitors. Of course, the press, and Lady Colin Campbell makes the point later on in that section, they are always going to go after the pound signs, the dollar sign, the dollars. It's all about money. And, if you've got Harry and Meghan there, you can make a story about them, and you're not going to get as much as a response, positive or negative, from the general public if you put Invictus Warriors on the front pages, as opposed to Harry and Meghan, or Harry and Meghan with the Invictus Games Warriors. So I can see why they do it. We are partly to blame as consumers, because that is the sort of content that we buy. And the press, of course, feed into that, whether it's UK homegrown press or whether it's foreign international media, including the USA. So there are distinct differences between UK and foreign media. Lady Colin Campbell is completely right. The British press like to build you up, knock you down, and they will try and keep you in a space of where you are profitable to them as a commodity. And that is absolutely true. But Lady Colin Campbell, I think, makes a point about them kind of running with Harry and Meghan a lot, because at the moment they're kind of almost favouring them. But is that to sort of build them up and then knock them down again when something comes down? Personally, my interpretation of the media is that the media has been knocking them down all the time. There hasn't really been anything positive since they decided to step back. So I'm not entirely sure either I've misunderstood what Lady Colin Campbell is saying, or I don't agree with it. Anyway, one or the other. She makes the point about Diana talking to Robert Jobson about in the 90s, why do you write all this stuff about Diana when you know it's not true? And he said, well, if we wrote the truth, nobody would read it. In other words, if he said anything if the press said anything negative about Diana, then she wouldn't be as a commodity to them. But is that what's going on with Meghan now? It makes you think, are they pitching Harry and Meghan negatively because that is what sells, that is what we are consuming? Now, I am no fan of the decisions that Harry and Meghan have made since deciding to step back from the royal family. I will defend to the ends of the earth their right not to be a working royal. I will defend to the ends of the earth their right for freedom of speech to say whatever they want to say. But I don't agree with the choices they have made to do those things. It is all about choices and how you conduct yourself. And the way that Harry and Meghan are conducting themselves feeds into the media narrative. They are all kind of pawns on this stage. They are all the world is a stage, and everyone has their part. And of course, Meghan was kind of, pitched right from the get-go. Well, not from the get-go, when things started to sour as the kind of antithesis, I think, to Catherine. And they've gone with it because it has sold. But Harry and Meghan themselves are not doing the best things to kind of counteract that, if you get my point. So let's leave that thought there. Oh my God, I just spat out my coffee, literally. I was just watching about... She just said, she's talking about karma, she just said, Harry and Meghan have the karma of newts. I mean, okay, karma. No, I don't think Harry and Meghan are interested in karma, because they wouldn't be doing what they have been doing if they were interested in karma. All the things that they've done to the Queen, the late Queen when she was alive, and of course the Duke of Edinburgh when he was passing away, and the Queen when she was ill. Yeah, they do not see karma. They see what they are doing as this kind of God-given appointed right. I almost think that they feel like they have been positioned here on Earth to sort of do what they're doing, taking down their own families. I mean, to a lesser extent, Meghan has taken down, her father's side of the family, and of course they are stopping at nothing to take down the royal family. So yes, karma is not something that I think keeps Harry and Meghan awake at night. Okay, so the next kind of point or question that she was answering was about Harry meeting some of the top brass, some of the NATO leaders at the Invictus Games and being photographed with them, this kind of dog and pony show. I think she makes the point that, a very true and real point. It is supposed to be about the veterans. I say supposed to be. Harry being photographed with the NATO leaders does not necessarily mean that they were there to meet Harry. I think they were there to meet the Invictus Games warriors and to kind of represent those veterans. But I also think that Harry and Meghan, to an extent, do still have that pull. They still have that gravitas. And although I don't think the NATO leaders were there solely for Harry and Meghan, I think they were there for the veterans, it didn't hurt having Harry as kind of, leading this, and having Meghan there as well. Because they still have royal connections. Let's not make any mistake about it. Doesn't matter whether Harry has stepped back. It doesn't matter whether they are using the HRH or not. They still have it. They still have titles. Harry is still the son of a reigning monarch. He is fifth in line to the throne. He still has his HRH. He's still a prince of the United Kingdom. He's still a duke that was appointed by the Queen, the late Queen, up on his marriage to Meghan. He still has that royal gravitas, although to a lesser extent in terms of relevance to the current royal family, because he's not a working role, and he's not involved in United Kingdom public life anymore. But he still has that pull. And I think the top brass of NATO were definitely going to get their photo opportunity because they knew it would get in the papers. Going back to our earlier point about the press using sort of pictures and Harry and Meghan to make money. If you then throw Harry and Meghan into the mix with NATO leaders, they've got a fabulous story. The NATO leaders obviously get their images thrust across all the newspapers and media, and Harry gets, for him, some PR with top brass people. It's that kind of symbiotic relationship. So that's my thoughts on that. Okay, so I cannot watch this and then not comment on Harry and Meghan's reception in Germany itself. So I haven't seen particularly any headlines, and I haven't had any German people comment on my videos about Harry and Meghan. But Lady Colin Campbell has, and she read out a few examples of Germans who are very dissatisfied with Harry and Meghan's dog and pony show, so to speak, in Germany. I do not know how that extrapolates out over the entire German population, but certainly some have taken to expressing their feelings quite strongly to Lady C, and she read some of them out. I do think that, you know, Meghan and Harry potentially have an agenda. The Invictus Games is going to be held in different locations, you know, all the time. And, you know, it was an opportunity to market, PR opportunity to market Harry and Meghan. In particular, Meghan, who is said to be relaunching or looking to relaunch her career. Remember, she signed with that agency. And they are looking for opportunities. This is massive PR. The sort that they might not be able to get when doing perhaps their own individual engagements. Remember, they've had to resort to, you know, paparazzi pictures to basically get what they are doing out there. Gone is this kind of, you know, royal media pool that they had access to when they were working royals. They didn't have to do anything for PR. It was just simply there. And that was one of the things that they stepped away from when they left the working royal family and the United Kingdom in general. This kind of royal pool, this royal rota does not exist for them now. So they have to make their own PR, and this was a massive PR opportunity. The German market is a very affluent market. You know, the people have disposable income, despite what's going on in the world right now. They are consumers, and Harry and Meghan want to be consumed. And it was too big of an opportunity to pass out. This kind of fashion that she was wearing. It was all designed to get PR, to become marketable, to become relatable within the European market. I think Harry and Meghan have seen that there isn't going to be quite the appetite that they expected from the American market, and they certainly don't have the appeal that they once had in the United Kingdom. So they are very much trying to position themselves in Europe and the rest of the world. This was a massive opportunity that they could not give up, pass over, and that is what we saw. Okay, so next there was a few comments about how Meghan looked at the Invictus Games, and I certainly picked up on one thing that I didn't speak about in my previous video was the amount of times that Meghan changed outfit throughout the day. She didn't need to. I mean, for example, Princess Anne, any members of the royal family, if they wear an outfit to an event, they pretty much stay wearing the same outfit all day, unless they are then going on to an evening event. But during the same event, they do not change outfit. You know, you don't see Princess Anne at a garden party coming out 1 minute in an outfit and then half an hour later going back in to change to come out. So I know Meghan was attending different events within that day period, but there was no need to change outfit. It's not as if she was wearing one outfit for all of the day's events and then going to an evening reception. It was kind of ridiculous, the amount of times that she was changing outfit. And, you know, you saw lots of what looked like linen fabrics that were very crumpled and creased, that looked like they hadn't been ironed. I mean, if they're staying at this presidential suite in that swanky hotel, then you would expect them to have access to at least an iron to sort it out. Anyway, Lady C also made a point about chicken legs, which did make me laugh out loud, because in my previous video I did put a picture of Big Bird, because I thought Meghan looked a bit like Big Bird in those shorts because of the way that the feathers kind of almost act like shorts, and then you've got the legs sticking out. So that kind of made me chuckle a little bit. But no, there was no need to change outfits so many times on a royal tour. You do change outfit because that is planned into the day, and there are different sections to the day. But you do not, if you're going to a sporting event, I mean, all the people that attend, for example, the Olympics as spectators, they don't pop into the toilet every time there's a change of event and change outfit. It was all done, as I said before, for PR. The more outfits she wears, the more she gets photographed, the more it looks like perhaps it was taken on a different day, the more that she can be used in the media. You know, if it's Meghan wearing the same outfit all day, then it's just Meghan wearing the same outfit all day. It's not as marketable as different looks. And of course, we don't know if she was gifted those outfits, if she was paid to promote them. So it's all part of Harry and Meghan PR. Okay, so next we move on to the kind of point that it's better that the Invictus Games gets the kind of media attention it does with Harry and Meghan's involvement, as it has done, as opposed to nothing. And I would agree with that sentiment. The thing, however, kind of harking back to the Invictus documentary for Netflix, is that Harry and Meghan, in turn, as part of that Netflix deal, are making money off the backs of the Invictus Games and those Invictus Warriors. In the documentary they made, let's not forget that Archewell Productions is the money-making venture of Harry and Meghan. So unless they are donating in the region, I estimate, of about $20 million to the Invictus Games charity organisation, then they are still profiteering off the Invictus Games. The reason why I get to 20 million is because their rumoured Netflix deal is 80 to 100 million. So if you look at the output that they've produced already, the Invictus Games documentary represents about $20 million. That's if those figures are to be believed. You can up them or lower them accordingly. So just, $1 million or just, a little donation is not going to come close to $20 million. So let's not mince our words. Harry and Meghan have profiteered off the backs of those Invictus Games warriors. And even if the Invictus Games warriors involved in the documentary were happy to do so and participated of their own free will, it's still exploitation. And now, sort of going to the Invictus Games, having all that PR, they are still profiteering off the back of all of that PR. Lady Colin Campbell speaks about Harry and Meghan having their accommodation and everything expensed. Well, I don't know how true that is. As far as I'm aware, I've seen no information or proof or evidence to say that the Invictus Games has paid for their accommodation and transport. However, it is not without the realm of possibility that that was the case. I just haven't seen any receipts about that. So if you have seen any receipts, do let me know and I'll go and take a look. And that the Invictus Games warriors and families have had to finance themselves coming over, their transport and of course their accommodation. So yes, I agree. Harry and Meghan do provide the attention that the Invictus Games deserves to have. Those warriors deserve to have it. But it has been a dog and pony show. We're joined by Beau for this section. Hello, Beau. It's raining outside, so he's come in and he's a little bit damp, aren't you? Right, Lady Colin Campbell is now talking about Harry and Meghan wanting to control the media. She read out a comment where the viewer was likening Harry and Meghan's approach to the control of the media to that of Hitler and Goebbels. Well, certainly from that time period, Hitler and his clan did have tight control over the media. They had tight control over propaganda, and that is one of the things that Harry and Meghan wanted to do when they stepped back from the royal family. They wanted tighter control over their own image, over their own propaganda, and control over what was written about them. They said this, I mean, when they made the announcement that they were only going to work with certain highbrow, American newspapers or outlets, favoured outlets, that showed their true intent for control. They didn't want to work with the British tabloids who were, commenting about it, who still comment about it. And just because Harry and Meghan chose not to engage with those publications hasn't stopped those publications from writing about them. It just went to show that Harry and Meghan want that level of control, and they still do. But what has transpired is the fact that they have moved away from the UK. It hasn't stopped any of the media talking however they want to about them. I don't actually think, in reality, Harry and Meghan have got the level of control that they want. They certainly don't have it. I don't think you can quite compare them to the level of Hitler. Hitler was, as Lady C says, very controlled, and he was a master of propaganda, a very horrible person, but he controlled a population with propaganda. Harry and Meghan, I think, have been trying to do that, but they have failed because they have completely lost control. Part of the narrative propaganda control that they tried to exude was, of course, Spare, the Oprah interview, the Netflix documentary. It's all backfired, basically because what they are saying has not been particularly clever. People can see straight through them. So it's less about having the vehicle for control, but it's more about having the justification of what you're saying. It has to be real, it has to be believable. And Harry and Meghan's, whatever they've come up with, just hasn't checked out. And I think the royal family have played an absolute blinder by never complain, never explain. It has been something that has, the Queen Mother's moniker, it has been something that has actually worked for them during this time. We don't know 100% what any of the royal family really feel about Harry and Meghan because they haven't directly come out and said. Yes, the royal family media machine has been working behind the scenes, giving out little snippets to feed that kind of press machine, but in doing it that way, rather than coming out and doing books and TV interviews, they have kept a dignified silence, and it's left Harry and Meghan scrambling to protect their image because they don't look like they are in control. They have completely lost control and gone off the rails. We're wrapping up this video now. So one of the final points that Lady Colin Campbell makes is about, I mean, I've seen in the some detractors of the royal family have been saying, why haven't members of the royal family been supporting the Invictus Games? Why didn't William go out, or Charles, or Edward? Well, I mean, there's a few factors at play here. First of all, it's believed that the royal family behind the scenes do not have a very positive relationship with Harry at present. So that's one reason. The second reason, as Lady Colin Campbell said, and it is true, royals do not typically step on each other's charities and organisations unless there is a specific collaboration. We saw, of course, the Queen sharing certain royal visits with members of the family being supported. That was entirely different because she is the monarch and she was, wanting some companionship in her later years. But also there was an element of kind of royal training, if you like. We saw that with Meghan, we saw that with Catherine being involved with Her Late Majesty. So unless there is some kind of charity or organisation or themed crossover, they kind of like to stick in their own lanes. However, we did see in the early days of the Invictus, I think William and Catherine sort of were involved. I think I remember all of them wearing Invictus jackets. I think they did a little bit of racing at the time. So there have been elements, but let's not forget, during that time, the Invictus Games was funded by, or partly funded by, the Royal Foundation. It was Harry's baby. Harry set it up, but it was under the Royal Foundation branch of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and Prince Harry, as they were at the time. So William and Catherine legitimately had reason to be involved in the Invictus Games in the early days. Since Harry and Meghan left and Harry took the Invictus Games with him, the Royal Foundation made a large donation to the Invictus Games as a kind of parting farewell gesture, if you like. I don't know whether it was specifically owed or whether it was always earmarked for Invictus, but Invictus left with money from the Royal Foundation. So that now is a completely separate entity. So there's no reason for any members of the royal family to be there supporting Harry, unless, of course, they wanted to in a personal low-level capacity, which I'm sure would be, Meghan and Harry's followers would probably, supporters would probably say that if a royal did turn up, that they were trying to steal the limelight from Harry and Meghan. So I think it was probably best for the greater good that no one from the royal family was at the Invictus Games. It's a little bit more complex than I think some people would have you believe at a very base level. There we go. I have reached the end of this particular video. So having watched Lady Colin Campbell's YouTube video for the very first time, yes, I was entertained. There were some points that I sort of expanded on in this video using my own royal knowledge. I liked the approach that she used. I liked the fact that she reads out some viewer comments and questions. That's certainly something that I could do here on this channel. So please comment with some really interesting, leave some really interesting comments, and I will in a future video maybe pick up on them, but I can only react to really amazing good comments. So make them detailed and expressive, and I will react to them in a future video. I love Lady Colin Campbell's outfit. That headband is giving me life. I love pearls. I do own a few Tahitian pearls myself. So as a lover of pearls, I can respect the headband. So yes, I will be looking for a black and white striped headband. But other than that, I've enjoyed a really good cup of coffee. We've had a decent chat. Please let me know your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. So if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to share on social media. And of course, do hit the bell so that you know whenever I upload a new video. So from me, to you all, and goodbye.